Ashish Mishra has reached the crime branch office in Lakhimpur Kheri. Remember, Ashish Mishra had been summoned by the UP police in their investigation into the Lakhimpur violence that occurred on October 3rd. Ashish Mishra is the son of Minister of State for Home Affairs Ajay Misra. Ashish Mishra has just reached the crime branch office in Lakhimpur Kheri. He had been summoned for 11 a.m. He has reached there at least 20 minutes ahead of time. He had been summoned yesterday at 10 a.m. but he did a no-show, and then the Supreme Court wrapped the UP police and the administration for going lenient on Ashish Mishra when there was a charge of murder against him in the FIR which has been filed in this case. Ashish Mishra now has reached the crime branch office. Remember, his father had spoken to the media yesterday and said that his son will join the investigation today. It remains to be seen what sort of questions the UP police has in mind for Ashish Mishra. Ashish Mishra, remember, has been speaking with the media since the incident, and in his defense, he's basically said that he was not present at the incident site, and as far as his convoy mowing down farmers who were protesting is concerned, the driver lost control of the vehicle. So he has been pleading innocent since this entire incident transpired on October 3rd. Ashish Mishra, son of Union Minister of State for Home Affairs Ajay Misra, now appearing before the crime branch after giving it a miss yesterday when he'd been summoned yesterday at 10 a.m. yesterday in court. Then the counsel for UP Police and the UP administration, specifically Harish Salve, Advocate Harish Salve, had told the court that they had given Ashish Mishra time till 11 a.m. this morning since he had sought some time from the police. They had given him time till 11 a.m. to appear today, and he has now reached the crime branch office in Lakhimpur Kheri. Those are visuals, as you can see, which are coming in from Lakhimpur Kheri, where Ashish Mishra, son of MOS Home Ajay Misra, has now reached the crime branch office. The police will obviously have a lot of questions for him because the farmers who were protesting in the Tikonia village in Lakhimpur Kheri on October 3rd are pinning the blame on Ashish Mishra. There are those who say that it was his convoy that mowed down farmers. It was a very tragic incident. 8 people lost their lives. 4 farmers who were protesting on that day. There were retaliatory incidents as well of violence, and Ashish Mishra has been blamed by the farmers. Abhishek Mishra, my colleague, is now joining me live from Lakhimpur Kheri. He is outside the crime branch office. Abhishek, as you were telling our viewers this morning, Ashish Mishra has now appeared before the crime branch. What are you hearing from your sources on the ground from the police? What sort of questions do they have for Ashish Mishra? Abhishek, can you hear me?
यहाँ पर आशीष आता है और सीधे अंदर की तरफ जाता है। हालांकि कहा जा रहा था कि उसके साथ में परिवार के भी और लोग आ सकते हैं, बीजेपी के कार्यकर्ताओं के आने की भी बात थी, लेकिन ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं हुआ। पूरी जो मौजूदगी थी, मैं आपको दूसरी तरफ दिखाता हूँ। यहाँ दूसरी तरफ भी पुलिस वालों को लगाया गया था, वहाँ भी बैरिकेड किया गया था, लेकिन पीछे की तरफ से दूसरे रास्ते से क्राइम ब्रांच के दफ्तर में आशीष मिश्रा पहुँचा है और यहाँ पर उसके बयान दर्ज होंगे। लगातार जो भी आरोप पीड़ित परिवार की तरफ से लगाए जा रहे थे और जो कुछ भी कहा गया कि आखिर आशीष मिश्रा कहाँ है, क्यों नहीं अभी तक वो आया और गिरफ्तारी क्यों नहीं की गई, पुलिस पे लगातार दबाव था। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने भी इसको लेकर के फटकार लगाई थी, लेकिन आज तय समय से पहले पहुंचकर आशीष मिश्रा ने यहां पर अपनी मौजूदगी दर्ज कराई है। हम आपको दिखाते हैं, सामने सीधे क्राइम ब्रांच का ये दफ्तर है, इसके अंदर आशीष मिश्रा फिलहाल मौजूद है। उसको यहाँ पर पहुंचे हुए फिलहाल लगभग यहाँ पर 10 से ज़्यादा मिनट होने को आ गए हैं। यहाँ पर अंदर पूरी टीम मौजूद है, एसआईटी की जांच की जाएगी, सवाल पूछे जाएंगे। घटना वाले दिन वो कहाँ थे, कब पहुंचे थे, क्या उनके पास साक्ष्य है, जो आरोप लग रहे हैं उसमें क्या सच्चाई है, ड्राइवर कहाँ था, कितने लोग गाड़ी में थे, ये तमाम सवाल उनसे पूछे जाएंगे। और आशीष मिश्रा जो लगातार मीडिया में 2 दिन पहले तक कहता रहा कि मैं बेकसूर हूं, मैं वहां नहीं था, आज जांच में कहीं ना कहीं आधिकारिक तौर पर उसके बयान पुलिस की फाइलों में दर्ज होंगे। जी
Right, so you heard Abhishek over there telling us that Ashish Mishra has in fact arrived at the crime branch office. This after the Supreme Court pulled up the UP administration for going lenient on Ashish Mishra and saying that if this was any other person, if a case and a very serious charge had been levelled, that of IPC 302 murder against someone, wouldn't that person be arrested by now? Let's listen in to Abhishek, who's reporting from outside the crime branch office.
सामने की तरफ वहां पर उतरता है जहां पर पुलिस के अधिकारी इस वक्त जितने जवान खड़े हैं वो अकेला वहां गाड़ी से उतरता है। पुलिस के वहां जो लोग मौजूद थे वो उसको वहां से अकम्पनी करते हैं और सामने के धीरे से वो वहां से सीधे अंदर की तरफ चला जाता है। हमको जिस तरीके से वहां दिखाई दिया, कोई बात उसने नहीं की, किसी भी तरीके से कोई बात नहीं कही और सीधे यहाँ पर वो दफ्तर में आ जाता है। क्योंकि कल अजय मिश्रा टेनी, जो कि उसके पिता हैं, कानून मंत्री हैं उत्तर प्रदेश, भारत सरकार में उत्तर प्रदेश से वो, लेकिन उन्होंने भी कल कहा कि कल उनका बेटा यानी आशीष मिश्रा यहाँ पर आएगा, सारे सवालों के जवाब देगा। क्योंकि कल जिस तरीके का बवाल लगातार मचा हुआ था, तमाम विपक्ष के नेता भी कह रहे थे और खास तौर पर श्वेता, इसमें सबसे महत्वपूर्ण यह है कि जब कोर्ट में यह मामला पहुंचा और यूपी सरकार को फटकार लगाई गई, पुलिस की कार्रवाई पर सवाल उठाए गए कि 302 में मुकदमा दर्ज होने के बावजूद भी आखिर गिरफ्तारी क्यों नहीं की गई और किस तरीके का ट्रीटमेंट इस केस को दिया जा रहा है, उसको लेकर के तल्ख तेवर सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कल अपनाए थे। और ऐसे में आज ये बहुत बड़ा दबाव था पुलिस के ऊपर कि अगर आशीष मिश्रा यहाँ नहीं आता है तो गिरफ्तारी के अलावा और कोई विकल्प सामने नहीं था। लेकिन चूंकि मंत्री महोदय भी ये कह गए थे कि उनका बेटा पहुंचेगा और 11 बजे से 22 मिनट पहले 10:38 पर आशीष मिश्रा क्राइम ब्रांच के दफ्तर के अंदर पहुंचा है, इस वक्त मौजूद है। लंबी पूछताछ चलेगी क्योंकि लंबी फहरिस्त है सवालों की जिसके जवाब आशीष मिश्रा को देने हैं और जिसके लिए एसआईटी की टीम सुबह से यहाँ मौजूद थी। आशीष मिश्रा से आज पूरे सवाल होंगे कि आखिर उस दिन क्या हुआ और क्यों उसको दोषी ना कहा जाए।
Right, so you heard Abhishek over there. He's of course reporting from outside the crime branch office in Lakhimpur Kheri. He is telling us that it is going to be a long questioning of Ashish Mishra, son of MOS Home Affairs Ajay Misra, who has arrived all by himself. You can see he's got a cover of sorts on his face. He's obviously not wearing a mask, so he's got a hanky over his face. He has arrived at the crime branch office in order to be questioned by the SIT, which is present inside that office. They have a whole list of questions, a long list of questions that they want to ask him. Ashish Mishra so far hadn't been summoned by the UP police. It was only yesterday that he was given a time and summoned by the UP police. He was given a time of 10 a.m. He did a no-show. It was only after that that in the Supreme Court you saw that the Supreme Court pulled up the UP administration for going easy on Ashish Mishra. Listen into Abhishek. Right, my colleague Abhishek is of course giving us minute-to-minute details of that investigation. Ashish Mishra finally joins the investigation. He was summoned for 11 a.m. this morning by the UP police. He arrived there at 10:38 a.m. Those are visuals of Ashish Mishra on your screens right now. Abhishek is reporting from the ground.
कह रहा था कि मैं उस दिन वहां नहीं था, मैं दंगल में मौजूद था, मैं वो घटना स्थल पर नहीं था, मेरे पास साक्ष्य है, तमाम चीजों को दिखा रहा था। लेकिन बार-बार जो सवाल विपक्ष ने भी उठाए और पीड़ित परिवार के जो लोग हैं जिन्होंने एफआईआर दर्ज कराई, उन्होंने भी कहा कि आखिर पुलिस के सामने क्यों नहीं आ रहा है आशीष मिश्रा, जो मीडिया में बातें की गई उसको आधिकारिक तौर पे क्यों नहीं दिखाया जा रहा। और पुलिस की कार्रवाई को लेकर के भी श्वेता लगातार सवाल उठाए जा रहे थे। पहला समन भेजा जाता है 8 तारीख को 10 बजे पहुंचने का, कल पूरा दिन नाटक चलता रहा, कुछ नहीं हुआ, वो नहीं आया। उसके बाद में जब सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जवाब तलब करवाया गया, पूछा गया, जब वहां पर साल्वे ने वहां पर तमाम जवाब दिए सरकार की तरफ से, तब उसके बिल्कुल 15-20 मिनट के अंदर दूसरा नोटिस चस्पा कर दिया जाता है और आज 11 बजे का समय दिया जाता है। लेकिन कल की हलचल श्वेता और आज की हलचल में जमीन आसमान का फर्क है, क्योंकि सुबह से हम यहाँ मौजूद है 7 बजे से और जो कुछ हमने देखा, जिस तरीके से यहाँ सुरक्षा का घेरा बनाया जा रहा था, तमाम फोर्सेस को लगा दिया गया था। कल देर रात 9:30 बजे से इंटरनेट की सेवाओं को बाधित कर दिया गया था। यानी कि पूरी तैयारी थी, ये तय था कि आशीष मिश्रा आएगा और उसके जो सवाल पुलिस के अधिकारियों को करने, उनके जवाब देने होंगे। यही कारण था कि पूरे सुनियोजित तरीके से आशीष मिश्रा यहाँ आता है, समय से पहले पहुंचता है ताकि मीडिया की नजरों से बच सके और सीधे यहाँ पर क्राइम ब्रांच के दफ्तर में अंदर आ जाता है। तफ्तीश शुरू हो गई, एक एक पहलू को खंगाला जाएगा क्योंकि बार बार एविडेंसेस की बात हो रही है। और श्वेता, इस पूरे मामले में जितने वीडियो सामने आए हैं, आज तक ने लगातार एक एक वीडियो को दिखाया है और इस वीडियो में साफ दिखाई दिया कि इस तरीके से थार गाड़ी उन किसानों को कुचलती हुई निकल गई। ऐसे में आशीष के आगे क्या विकल्प है, किस आधार पर वो ये कहेंगे, क्या जो साक्ष्य वो मौजूद मुहैया कराएंगे पुलिस को, उनमें कितनी सच्चाई, उनको जांच के दायरे में लिया जाएगा, कॉल रिकॉर्ड्स खंगाले जाएंगे और तमाम चीजें होंगी। यहाँ पर आप देख सकते हैं इस वक्त जो है पहुंचे हैं डीआईजी, मीडिया से बात करेंगे, बताएंगे क्या कुछ हुआ है। लेकिन श्वेता, पूरे तौर पर आज कहीं ना कहीं साफ है कि आशीष मिश्रा की मुसीबतें आज खत्म नहीं हो रही, आज से शुरुआत हो रही है। कहीं ना कहीं कानून का शिकंजा आशीष मिश्रा पर कस दिया गया है। जी
Right. So you heard Abhishek over there reporting from outside the crime branch office in Lakhimpur Kheri, where Ashish Mishra, son of MOS Home Ajay Misra, has finally submitted himself for interrogation before the SIT, which is looking into the incident that transpired, the violent incident that transpired in Lakhimpur Kheri on October 3rd. Ashish Mishra has been named as an accused by the farmers who lodged a complaint, which has then been translated into an FIR. The murder charge has been applied against him, IPC 302. Yesterday, he was summoned by the SIT for the first time to appear before them at 10 a.m. He did not appear before them the entire day. The media waited, but there was absolutely no sign of Ashish Mishra arriving. Today, as Abhishek has been reporting, there clearly was some sort of knowledge that he would be in fact submitting himself to investigation, because the police was out in good numbers outside the crime branch office in order to put up barricades, in order to contain the crowds, watch out for the media, which would obviously want to capture images of Ashish Mishra as he reached. So there seemed to be some sort of prior intimation, as was in fact confirmed by his father, Ajay Mishra, speaking to the media yesterday, who said yes, Ashish will join the investigation today, especially after the Supreme Court took the UP administration to the cleaners yesterday when it said that this was not the way to conduct an investigation. It was unsatisfactory in their eyes, and they wondered why Ashish Mishra had not submitted himself for any sort of investigation, why the UP police was going lenient on him. And that is when the advocate representing the UP administration, senior lawyer Harish Salve, said that Ashish Mishra had sought some more time, and they had given him time up until 11 a.m. today to present himself before the SIT, which is investigating this matter. Remember, after the Supreme Court took cognizance of a couple of PILs which were filed in this matter by advocates, things have started moving forward in this case. 2 arrests have been made, that of Lavkush Rana and Ashish Pandey. There are 3 others who are accused in this case but are unfortunately deceased. Ashish Mishra is another accused in this case. He has now presented himself before the SIT. It is expected to be a long questioning of Ashish Mishra, because there are a whole host of questions that the SIT would in fact like to ask Ashish Mishra in this case. Remember, there's also a single member judicial commission which has been formed by the UP government. It will be headed by retired High Court Judge of the Allahabad High Court, Pradeep Kumar Srivastav. In fact, it has been asked to submit a report in this case in 2 months as well. The SIT, of course, is now investigating this case, and it has visited a few spots as well. It has 8 members at the moment, which, as Abhishek was pointing out, it is led by DIG Upendra Agarwal, and the DIG has also in fact arrived at the crime branch office in Lakhimpur Kheri, so it's likely that he could be leading the interrogation of Ashish Mishra. There are several questions about his whereabouts on the day of the incident. How was his convoy, as is being alleged by the farmers, the protesting farmers, at the site? Those videos that you've seen previously, which have been played out by India Today, some very damning videos which show the merciless manner in which a vehicle, an SUV, a Thar, was seen mowing down protesting farmers who were walking ahead on the road. At that time, farmers saying that they had ended their protest and were headed back. That is when a speeding vehicle comes in from behind and mows down farmers. 4 farmers lost their lives in that tragic incident which took place, and there were others who lost their lives as well. 8 persons have died in that very tragic episode which transpired in Lakhimpur Kheri on October 3rd. Ashish Mishra has been named as an accused by the protesting farmers, some of them pointing their fingers at him, and then also the family of the journalist who was killed, Raman Kashyap, also saying that Ashish Mishra and his convoy was spotted at the incident site. Ashish Mishra denies these charges. He claims innocence. He says he was not at the incident site, and as far as his convoy is concerned, the driver lost control because of protesters trying to pelt the vehicle with stones and beat it with sticks as it passed through. So this is the defense. This has broadly been the defense of Ashish Mishra, who has been speaking with the media since the incident transpired. He and his father both have claimed innocence. His father has also briefed Union Home Minister Mr. Amit Shah about what transpired in Lakhimpur Kheri. He travelled from Lakhimpur Kheri to Delhi earlier in the week, told the Home Minister about what had happened as well, and has claimed innocence, and has said that if his son is proven to be guilty of what happened in Lakhimpur Kheri, he will give up his position as MOS home. So father and son, of course, saying that they're completely innocent and there is no evidence or proof to link Ashish Mishra with the tragic death of the farmers in Lakhimpur Kheri on October 3rd. JP Nadda spoke at the 19th edition of the India Today conclave as well yesterday in Delhi, and he said that the guilty will be booked, no one will be spared, and the law will take its own course, and the law is taking its course now. As you can see, Ashish Mishra has arrived at the crime branch office in order to submit himself to interrogation before the SIT, which has been formed by the UP government to look into this incident, this very tragic incident which has had ripple effects throughout the country. Everyone has expressed their absolute shock over what happened. We've seen opposition leaders making a beeline for Lakhimpur Kheri as well. Could this possibly have an impact on the UP elections? That, of course, remains to be seen. But for the moment, Ashish Mishra has submitted himself to interrogation. He has arrived over there. Those are those visuals of Ashish Mishra, as you can see, who has arrived over there. He's obviously got his face covered with a handkerchief, which he's possibly replaced for a mask at the moment, but covering his face, entering the premises of the crime branch office where the SIT is present, and the investigation is likely to be led by the DIG. My colleague Ashutosh is also joining me live from Lakhimpur Kheri. We will try and reconnect with Ashutosh in a bit. Ashutosh and Abhishek Mishra are reporting live from outside the crime branch office in Lakhimpur Kheri. Ashish Mishra, the son of Union Minister of State for Home Affairs Ajay Misra, has submitted himself for interrogation by the SIT, which has been formed by the UP government to look into the incident which happened in Lakhimpur Kheri. Yesterday, a summons was out for him to appear before them at 10 a.m. He did not come, and then the Supreme Court rapped on the knuckles of the UP administration, and within 15 to 20 minutes, as my colleague Abhishek earlier was reporting, another summons was issued, notices, copies of which were in fact pasted outside the residences of Ajay Mishra and Ashish Mishra as well. Their residences within the village and outside in the city as well. 2 notices were in fact issued in order to ensure that Ashish Mishra doesn't skip summons again. He has, of course, arrived. Remember, pending him having skipped these summons, then the UP police had said that they would be issuing an arrest warrant if he did not submit himself to investigation. But Ashish Mishra has now arrived at the crime branch office. My colleagues Abhishek and Ashutosh are in fact reporting from Lakhimpur Kheri as this happens. This is an ongoing investigation. Ashish Mishra was to appear before the SIT at 11 a.m. He reached the premises at 10:30 a.m. this morning. Right, we'll try and reconnect with my colleagues Abhishek and Ashutosh, who are on the ground bringing us all the live updates and reports from that absolutely crucial interrogation which is to take place. We're yet to find out if it has started already inside the crime branch office in Lakhimpur Kheri. My colleague Ashutosh is on the phone line with me right now. Ashutosh, give us all the details. What has happened? 10:38 a.m. Ashish Mishra arrives.
Yes, he did not get the summon today, and we knew that quite because the argument that took place in Supreme Court and clearly the observation, he could not have, perhaps, fought to get this summon. However, before he appeared before the police at the party headquarters, when the Union Minister of State of Home Affairs, Ajay Misra, arrived with the supporters, there were a huge crowd, huge number of supporters. They started shouting, sloganing in support of Ashish Mishra, that he was not there at the incident site, and also questioning why there is a silence on the BJP workers who were allegedly killed by the farmers. So clearly, in the midst of that, he arrived before the police. The SIT has said that investigation has begun. He is being questioned. Certainly, the list of questions that is being prepared by the police, he will be questioned on all those aspects. The minister, rather, on the first reaction on our camera, when there was huge crowd sloganeering taking place, Ajay Mishra came in the balcony. And then he started addressing the supporters that he believes that this is going to be an independent probe, a fair probe. He also said that Ashish Mishra was not at the incident site, but he was at the other venue, where and clearly he believes that they're going to be independent probe and there will be a fair probe. So that's the first reaction from the MOS Home Affairs Ajay Mishra after his son appeared before the police. And remember, two notices that were given by the police pasted outside his residence. The first, which he missed on 8th of October, but another day he did appear. Of course, we know that what had happened in the Supreme Court, also the raising question on the UP police entire functioning, particularly in this case. Now he has appeared before the police. We'll have to see whether they are going to be arrested. We know that Supreme Court raised that had it been any ordinary person would have been the same reaction by the police in case of 302 imposed. So clearly there is going to be any arrest or not. We'll have to see. It will take few hours at least on the questioning by the SIT, by the special team to the Ashish Mishra, and what goes further we are keeping close eye on here. But for now, at the crime branch headquarters, the questioning has begun with Ashish Mishra by the police. Follow me.
So you're reporting that the questioning of Ashish Mishra has in fact begun at the crime branch office. What are the sort of questions, Ashutosh, that the SIT, which is present inside that office, is likely to ask Ashish Mishra?
Follow me. There are some evidence in terms of videos, those who are surfaced, they will be asked about the videos. Also, few men, those who were identified in those videos, they will be questioned on those, whether you know them, you were there or not. Subsequently, the mobile location, that is also going to be a very crucial evidence at the time of the incident. Where was his mobile phone? So that, believes that if his mobile phone was the incident time, he could have been there. Since Ashish Mishra is claiming he was not there at the incident time, but some other venue, the mobile location data is really going to be a critical evidence. Also in the questioning, when did he leave his house? What exactly was the time at the second venue that he claims was not at the incident site but the other place? So clearly on those lines, primarily these investigations will be carried out. Also, the evidences you heard, Ajay Mishra and also Ashish Mishra in previous interviews that say that he has evidence that he was not there at the incident site to prove his innocence. Those evidence will also be looked by the police, particularly in this case. Since the investigation has begun, the SIT and the top officials from the police and investigative team are clearly, keeping a silence on that. We'll have to see what goes further and how it develops further in coming hours.
Right. Ashutosh, in the midst of all this, the farmers who've been protesting and the farmers who've actually leveled those grave charges against Ashish Mishra, the Sanyukt Kisan Morcha has completely dismissed the SIT and the Judicial Commission, which has been set up by the UP government. They say that they want an inquiry to be directly monitored by the Supreme Court.
Well, the farmers at the press, because they believe that since 4 farmers were killed by, and they're blaming Ashish Mishra as a prime accused, so they have one side and another demand. But in the meanwhile, we're also saying the opposition party is also raising questions on the investigation of the police. But moreover, the very critical part is the questions that were raised by the Supreme Court on this investigation. They're raising question on the UP police when he had to say the top official has to ensure that evidence, in particularly in this case, should not be destroyed, should not be tampered. So that clearly gives, ammunition not only to the opposition but also the agitating farmers. That the even top court has raised the question on the entire method of the investigation so far has been carried out with Lakhimpur Kheri. So that also gives an ammunition to the farmers to raise further questions. Follow me.
Right. Ashutosh, about these further questions that the farmers are raising about the inquiry which is being conducted, both the judicial inquiry and the SIT. those questions are being raised because the UP police has not exactly covered itself in glory, right? I mean, the Supreme Court did have a few things to say.
Well, what we know that usually practices that if there is any accused booked under IPC section 302, there is arrest warrant issue. A police budget, the first action comes is the arrest. And when we know that there's an entire investigation was underway, the FIR was filed, Ashish Misra, who the prime accused, was giving interviews to the TV channel. But later, after pressure mounted on the government, on the police, they issued first summon. He is given first summon, then another summon was issued. So on that activity, perhaps could have been, the more, given an opportunity to raise the question on the police investigation. The accused was very much in the town, he was giving media interviews. You did not go and arrest him despite the 302 case, and that exactly was raised by the Supreme Court as well.
Right. Ashutosh, speaking of Ashish Mishra and his defense, he says, I was not there at the incident site. My convoy came under attack. The driver lost control and the incident happened, the very tragic incident which claimed the lives of 4 farmers. 8 people in total lost their lives on that tragic day. Ashish Mishra obviously continues to claim innocence. Are there witnesses, those who can pinpointedly say that Ashish Mishra in fact was present at the site? Okay, we will try and reconnect with my colleague Ashutosh, who was of course bringing us all the updates from Lakhimpur Kheri. Let's take it across to Ashish Mishra, my colleague, who's reporting from outside the crime branch office.
यहाँ से मंत्री है, यहाँ उनको समर्थन है, यहाँ उनके कार्यकर्ता हैं और यहाँ से कहीं ना कहीं जो आवाजें दूसरी तरफ ये भी उठ रही हैं कि मंत्री के बेटे को फंसाया जा रहा है। यानी कि पूरी की पूरी जो यहाँ पर इस वक्त का जो माहौल है वो ये बार-बार कह रहा है कि इस पूरे मामले को लेकर के कहीं ना कहीं आज बड़े तौर पर जितने भी सवाल हैं उनके जवाब आशीष मिश्रा को देने होंगे। और बड़ी बात यही होगी श्वेता कि क्या आशीष सेटिस्फाई कर पाएंगे। पुलिस ने जो भी पूछताछ में सवाल पूछे हैं क्या क्रॉस क्वेश्चनिंग होगी, क्योंकि जो बातें किसान पीड़ित परिवार ने एफआईआर में लिखी हैं और जो बयान पहले दर्ज किए गए थे उनसे क्रॉस चेक भी किया जाएगा। और इसके अलावा साथ ही साथ वो क्या पक्ष रखते हैं, उनके पास कितने सबूत हैं। महज एक वीडियो दिखाने से कुछ नहीं होगा, क्या इसके अलावा भी उनके पास कुछ है, क्या कॉल रिकॉर्ड्स के अलावा या और भी कोई ऐसी चीजें हैं जिसमें आशीष अपने आप को डिफेंड कर पाएंगे कि नहीं। इन तमाम चीजों को लेकर के आज की ये जो पूछताछ है वो बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। हलचल बहुत बढ़ गई है। आप देख सकते हैं इस समय पुलिस का घेरा जो है क्राइम ब्रांच के बाहर कर दिया गया है। अभी तक हम लोग वहां जा पा रहे थे लेकिन वहां हमको रोक दिया गया है, अंदर कोई भी नहीं जा पा रहा है। और जो अधिकारी आते हैं वो चुप्पी साधे हुए सामने आते हैं धीरे से और फिर एकदम से अंदर चले जाते हैं। यानी कि अभी इंतजार करना होगा कि आधिकारिक तौर पर अंदर क्या कुछ हो रहा है। लेकिन श्वेता, इस पूरे हफ्ते भर के घटनाक्रम में वारदात से लेकर के सियासत तक और आज जब दूसरी बार सम्मन देने के बाद सुप्रीम कोर्ट की फटकार के बाद आशीष मिश्रा क्राइम ब्रांच में के दफ्तर में मौजूद है, सवालों के घेरे में है और पुलिस पर भी दबाव है कि आखिर इतने दिनों से उत्तर प्रदेश की पुलिस ने क्या किया था।
Right, Abhishek there, of course, reporting from outside the crime branch office, telling us that the media has now been pushed away to some further distance away from the office of the crime branch because obviously they do not want the media coming in or any closer in order to access details of what is happening inside that crime branch office. Ashutosh, my colleague, is on the phone line with me from Lakhimpur Kheri as well, from where that questioning in fact is taking place. Ashutosh, the question that I was asking you earlier before you got cut off there, the question is, sabut kya hai? As Abhishek was saying, sabut kya hai is what Ashish Mishra is asking. What are the evidences available? Are there witnesses who've seen Ashish Mishra at the incident site, or are there, is the SIT completely depending on the videos and some of the accounts which say we saw Ashish Mishra's convoy at the site?
Well, primary in terms of the claims of the evidences against Ashish Mishra could be that the vehicle, that in the name of the family, the vehicles were found there. Subsequently, few eyewitnesses, though we do not know yet that they have come out in to the police since the FIR names Ashish Mishra, of course there are certain statements. So those eyewitnesses account also going to be very critical, very crucial. But more significantly, the mobile data that will tell the complete story, where he was present exactly when the incident took place. Was he there at the incident site, or as he claimed that he was on the another spot? That's really going to be, because Ashish Mishra said that he has other video that he was at the another site, he was not at the incident site. So on those aspects, clearly the investigation will be carried out further. There will be some forensic forensic investigation as well, but primarily on the evidences that are available with the police at the moment. And quite interesting for me to see here, the police has issued a mobile number, helpline number to send all the videos, anything that people know. But since last night, the mobile network has completely been barred, so that's also going to be a challenge to how will people upload the data or any evidence to the police. So all these things are taking place in the meanwhile, but primarily in the investigation, a series of incidents will be narrated by the accused to the police, where he was since morning to evening, entire development, and then that will be cross-questioned with the evidences available with the police at the moment. And then, some conclusion police perhaps would reach at the moment.
Right. Interesting point to make over there, Ashutosh. The fact that, the police has in fact issued helpline numbers and said if you have any videos, any sort of evidences, please share with us. But they have, of course, also suspended mobile internet services in Lakhimpur Kheri. So how are people supposed to even do that? So that's going to be one of the interesting aspects. But like Ashutosh was pointing out, the call records of Ashish Mishra, they're going to be extremely critical to this investigation to establish where was Ashish Mishra at the time of the incident, because Ashish Mishra claims he was not there at the incident site. So he's not guilty of anything at all as is being charged against him. Ashutosh continues to be with us on the phone line. Ashutosh, can you confirm again that the questioning of Ashish Mishra has begun? Who is leading the investigation? The DIG, we know, is in fact leading the SIT team. Is he leading the questioning of Ashish Mishra as we speak right now?
Well, primarily it is following only the investigative officers and the SIT team who are questioning. The four-member of the SIT team who are investigating, questioning. However, the DIG, since he has been the head of the monitoring committee, he is not only responsible for the questioning, but he will look on the entire investigation. So that also includes the questioning, investigation in terms of forensic, and also the cross-questioning. So he is very much there. He is also looking upon how the questioning takes place. And of course, since it's a police process, if there are something like to be added or any question likely to be asked from the accused, he will of course come forward for that. But for now, primarily, it is only the SIT team that is questioning the prime accuser, Ashish Mishra, at the moment.
Right. Also, Ashutosh, the fact that the UP police, despite having lodged that FIR on the complaint which was registered by the farmers who were witnesses over there who lost some of their own in that tragic incident in Lakhimpur Kheri, despite that complaint translated into an FIR, the police did not call in Ashish Mishra, forget arresting him, call in Ashish Mishra for questioning. How is the police defending itself against this apparent lapse which was highlighted by the Supreme Court yesterday?
On that, completely pin drop of silence. And in fact, the DIG Agrawal, who was very much at the crime branch, I was right here. And the moment the Supreme Court started giving its observation in this case, questioning UP police attitude in this investigation, the DIG immediately left. And perhaps could be within a couple of minutes, he just left the crime branch office. And all the police officials, in fact, all the police officials, not a single person is ready to speak on that, because the question has not been raised by the opposition, question has not been raised by the victims, question is not being raised by the farmers, but the question raised by the Supreme Court, the top court of this country, when raising questions on the entire investigation, the process, the attitude and the elasticity that police is showing towards an accused. So that's clearly perhaps now cornered the police as well as the government, and that perhaps seems to be a pressure now working. The another notice was given late in the evening, and he appeared before the police. Since of course there was no other way, he could perhaps seek anticipatory bail in that case, and if he is arrested, of course he will apply for the regular bail. But since those things are not happening, because remember, in such cases when the state is going to be under polls in assembly polls in next within 4 months, so that's clearly a lot of optics also comes in, and clearly in that terms, the political aspect cannot be ruled out. The opposition got an opportunity to attack the BJP government, and BJP perhaps seems to be on the back foot, and that everything is playing out. Finally, the accused has appeared before the police. Of course, the legal remedies are quite available to him. If he is arrested, he'll seek the bail from the magistrate court. We'll have to see how it develops further, but for now the investigation is on. The questioning is taking place with the accused. What comes further? There are some substantial evidence, and since very much the IPC section 302, which is against the accused, he may arrest it, but we'll have to see whether the investigation continues only for a day or he will be called tomorrow as well, following.
Right. Also, Ashutosh, you mentioned about the fact that, the BJP found himself on the back foot. How are BJP functionaries that you're probably speaking to on the ground in Lakhimpur Kheri or otherwise as well, how are they reacting to the incidents? How are they sort of commenting on it? Are they defending it? Because Ajay Mishra, of course, continues to be defiant. He's having his own show of support for Ashish, where supporters are coming in and screaming Ashish Mishra Nirdosh hai.
Well, yesterday when we heard the Law Minister of the state, Brajesh Pathak, when he said that there will be investigation, there will be independent probe, a fair probe, and all aspects will be looked upon. In fact, the Yogi Adityanath in the statement also heard that there will be an investigation, and the investigation will not be carried out under pressure of anyone. So clearly, since the government and the party is on the back foot, the only voice that is coming, there is a unanimous conclusion that there will be investigation, there will be fair probe, and there will be no pressure from any side. So this is the only thing that we are hearing from the government. And we know that when you are in opposition or when you know that your opponents are at the back foot, you quite unleash, your all accusations. But when it comes to the ruling party or when it comes to opposition, when your side, the accused is on your side, you are quite on the defensive field. So that is exactly the optics taking place here in Lakhimpur to Lucknow. In fact, when I just spoke to the supporters of Ashish Mishra who were outraging at the party headquarters, raising several questions, that why the questions are not being raised of those who supported, those who went to the farmers, why people are not speaking about those BJP workers who died in the clash, and several other questions that's being raised. So, of course, that's a part of the political optics taking place. But meanwhile, the very crucial investigation in this violence is taking place. The questionnaire with the accused is on. How it unfolds further, we are keeping a close eye on that one.
Of course. Ashutosh, we'll of course keep coming back to you. Stay with us on the phone line. Ashish Mishra is of course being questioned by the SIT, which is investigating this unfortunate incident which transpired in Lakhimpur Kheri on October 3rd, where 8 persons lost their lives, including 4 farmers. The SIT now investigating this incident and questioning Ashish Mishra, son of Union Minister of State for Home Affairs Ajay Mishra. Ashish Mishra has been named by the farmers as culpable of the incident, the tragic incident and the death of farmers that took place in Lakhimpur Kheri. He has been charged with murder. He has submitted himself for interrogation by the SIT this morning. He arrived at the SIT office at 10:38 a.m. It's the crime branch office in Lakhimpur Kheri where the SIT is currently lodged and is questioning Ashish Mishra. Ashish Mishra has of course claimed innocence. He says that he was not present at the incident site, so he cannot be held responsible for what happened, though he says that his convoy came under attack by those who pelted stones at it. The windshield cracked, the driver lost control of his vehicle, and that unfortunate incident happened, which has been caught on phone cameras, and those videos have gone viral as well. Very disturbing scenes that were witnessed in Lakhimpur Kheri, where farmers are seen walking on the road and suddenly a speeding vehicle, a Thar, comes from behind and mows down the persons on the road. And that is the incident which is now being inquired into, especially after there was much uproar across the country over that incident that took place. Remember, the farmers were on the ground that day protesting against the farm laws. On October 3rd is when this tragic incident took place. Ashutosh is still with me on the phone line from Lakhimpur Kheri as well. Ashutosh, give us a gist of the investigation so far, because it almost started picking up pace after the Supreme Court came into the picture. It said, okay, we will have a hearing tomorrow. It earlier was assumed to be a suo motu cognizance, but then we realized that there were 2 lawyers who had in fact written to the Supreme Court, which is when the CJI-led bench in fact took up the matter. Since then, things started rolling, arrests were made and summons were issued to Ashish Mishra. Give us a sense of the timeline, Ashutosh. Okay, we'll try and reconnect with my colleague Ashutosh. Obviously, there's a lot of chaos outside the crime branch office right now, where a high-profile accused, Ashish Mishra, has just arrived a short while ago. At 10:38 a.m. is when he arrived. 11 a.m. was when the crime branch had asked him and summoned him to join the investigation into the violent incident that took place at Lakhimpur Kheri on October 3rd. Ashish Mishra arrived 22 minutes ahead of time and submitted himself for investigation. That questioning of Ashish Mishra continues inside the crime branch office right now. It is an SIT which was constituted by the UP government. It is being monitored by a DIG level officer who is also, we believe, present in this investigation. There will be other IOs, investigating officers, who will be present as well. Remember, the UP government has also constituted a judicial inquiry commission headed by a retired High Court judge, a retired Allahabad High Court judge, Pradeep Kumar Srivastava, who has been given a time frame of 2 months in order to submit his report into what happened. Remember, the UP government has said in court that they are following the due course of law, that they are investigating into the incident, and anybody who's culpable of any sort of crime will not be spared. The guilty will not be allowed to go scot-free, but people will not be pressurized under any kind of pressure, external pressure, which is being applied. Let's slip into a very short break. We will, of course, stay tuned to this developing story from Lakhimpur Kheri.